Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to the scientific session of third day of Global Ayurveda Festival 2021. So today, the topic is revival of rare Ayurvedic plants. This session will be moderated by Dr. Sheila Karla, Head Research and Development, Vaidyaratnam Ayurveda Research Institute, Thrissur. The other participants are Dr. Ansari P.Y., Professor, Government of Ayurveda College, Tripunitura, Dr. Ajayan Sadanandan, Professor, Ashtangam Ayurveda College, Kerala, Dr. Prakash L. Hedge, Professor, SDM CH, Hassan, Dr. Ravi Rao, Dean, Professor, SGT University, Gurgaon. I welcome all of you, sirs and madam. We can now begin the session.
Thank you, admin. Good afternoon, all. Respected all, very good afternoon. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of Global Ayurveda Fest for providing me a wonderful platform to moderate the very needy scientific session on revival of rare medicinal plants. And welcome to the scientific session. Here we consider some programs like root cause analysis and strategies for the revival of selected rare plants, and pharmacopoeial and extra pharmacopoeial medicinal plants. That will be done by Dr. P.Y. Ansari. And the biodiversity concerns on conservation, propagation, and sustainable utilization of rare medicinal plants and its propagation by Dr. Ajayan Sadanandan. And current challenges met with Ayush pharma industry and revival by exploring the potential of extra pharmacopoeial drugs by Dr. Prakash Hegde, and resource mapping for in situ conservation by Dr. Ravi Rao, and myself, a revival of rare medicinal plants and industrial concern. These are the points we will discuss here in this segment, in this session. And warm welcome to all. And my crew will, my speakers will give you a very good presentation in this regard, and my presentation will be on this industrial requirements. I'm only telling about 5 or 6 plants regarding the needy segment of the industry. Introduction as it's only medicinal plants. The need of the medicinal plants for the majority of for the management of various diseases and the healthcare met with our current scenario. And in India is the major center of center of origin for the diversity. And the Western Ghats. Western Ghats is one of the major repositories of medicinal plants. Those things all we know. And among the 17,000, 18,000 species of flowering plants, these are the only data, and it is I have selected it, collected it from NMBB data, National Medicinal Plants Board data. And here in Ayurveda, 2,559 plants are used. Then IUCN red list sellers. Here we know we have so many. Yeah, 388 threatened species on the list, and RAT plants of South India have been listed as 1,272. Like that, 497 species recorded from Kerala that belongs to a red listed category, including 151 tree species. Could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, please. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. 497 species records from Kerala that belongs to the red listed categories, including 151 are tree species. As Kerala is one of the India's largest producers of traditional medicines, and also there is an unprecedented sprout of manufacturing units of Ayurvedic products in Kerala, and about 1,700 manufacturing units are registered with the government. And conservation of medicinal plants is need of the hour for the persistence of our traditional knowledge. Because here, some keywords I would like to send some keywords: rare, endangered, critically endangered, vulnerable, threatened. These are the major keywords used regarding this medicinal plants. And on these keywords, we are having so many researchers and so many this market survey, like that. Everything is done, mapping, source mapping, everything is done, but we are not came to the correct center, because here GIF will, I think the GIF will provide some, GIF could provide some suggestions or some critical suggestions for the management of these rare medicinal plants. Because industry is meeting this kind of problems regarding this medicinal plants. Some major plants like Coccinia fenestratum, Ashoka, like that, all are coming under this this keywords. So here, adulteration and substitution are the major problems met with our industry. Here, adulteration is named as is the synonym of substitution presently. Then, critical review on legal substitution is a requirement. Critical review on legal substitution. Brahadnigadhu Reknagara, like that, so many books are having legal substitutions, but the critical review on this is not done so far. Some activities are done, but it is not available to the industry. Some then in situ conservation, are the keywords coming under this session. Then some prioritized medicinal plants that need immediate concern are Coccinia fenestratum. Coccinia fenestratum, that is Daru hydra, critically endangered and endemic to India. Sanaka ashoka, it's vulnerable. Then Operculina tapetum, endangered. Hemidismus indicus, depleted in Western Ghats. Nilgrianthus ciliatus, vulnerable, and Styracosus sandalis is a near threatened. These are the major items I selected here. Major reasons: slow growing rate and slow rate of regeneration. It is related with Daruhydra, Ashoka, and Hemidismus indicus. Then high habitat specificity, that is Daruhydra, Ashoka, and Rakta. Vulnerable, this is a host species for establishment is Daruhydra. Poor seed viability, but for Daruhydra in some areas Berberis agitator is used, so it is somewhat some substitution aspects we could meet. Then poor seed viability for Daruhydra, Ashoka, and Hemidismus indicus. In the case of Ashoka, regarding Ashoka, the Kerala Forest Research Institute is having some techniques like vegetative propagation programs, and they have the success rate is very high in that particular mechanism. And other common reasons are unsustainable harvesting and habitat degradation. Unsustainable harvesting. Here in Kerala, Ashoka, as a part of this state medicinal transport program, this Thrissur, in the headquarters, they have suggested, they have planted, I think around about 6,000 Ashoka plants in Kerala. But it's that was before 12 years back. Then now it is ready for this is harvesting, but the skill in the harvesting of Ashoka bark is not provided now. So we need the skill development in the collection of the sustainable harvesting of this Ashoka bark. Like that, so many medicinal plants and trees are we have to discuss. Then forest degradation, deforestation, and habitat loss. Human interference. Next slide, please. Human interference and urbanization. Then unregulated harvesting of plant parts that I told earlier. Then agriculture expansion, road expansion, and logging, grazing, high volume trade, illegal collection from wild habitat, invasion of alien species, rising global interest, demand for the medicinal plants derived compounds that are herbaceuticals, demand for the extracts like that herbaceuticals for the modern medicine industry, like Rosopin, Gugulipid were interesting. Gugulipid from our Gugulu and Rosopin from our Serpentina Sarpaganthi, and we are using it as a whole, but in modern medicine, its active principle is taken and it is utilized. What's the need for the revival of medicinal plants? Next slide, please. Based on the maximum annual demand and usage in the majority of the population of Ayurveda, these prioritized plants I have given species that has to be considered for the conservation and sustainable management of for preserving our rich traditional knowledge. The endangerment of these species may lead to withdrawal of therapeutically important and well-known Ayurvedic products. Some products are made only because of the lack of this. Some products like operculum tarpetum. It is much affecting some well-known Ayurvedic products. Cosenia fenestratum. It's a critically endangered and highly traded medicinal plant that has become very important in recent years due to its rarity and huge demand in the medicinal plant sector. It is one of the ingredients of Vilvadi Guliga. Vilvadi Guliga, we know, it is a immunomodulatory drug and it is widely used in the COVID-19 management. So, Cosenia fenestratum is one of the ingredients of this Vilvadi Guliga. If you provide the better Cosenia fenestratum, the result of Vilvadi Guliga will be very high. It is being used in 62 different Ayurvedic formulations, which include Kashaya, Arishta, Churna, and Taila. Vilvadi Guliga, Sudarshana Arishtam, Sudarshana Churnam, Ashwagandha Arishtam, Khadara Arishtam, Punarnavadi Kashaya, Shadharana Churna, the major formulations that constitute the Ayurveda. This is Cosenia fenestratum. In the case of Seraka Ashoga belongs to the family of Fabaceae, is one of the most legendary and sacred tree of India. The bark of Ashoga trees constitute a popular botanical root drug used by the Indian herbal industry in the preparation of well-known Ayurvedic formulation, Ashoga Arishta. This bark of Ashoga, it is substituted, it is adulterated with the bark of some other medicinal plants, not medicinal plants, some tree species which contain tannin, rich in tannin. But in the case of Ashoga, we look for this catechin content, and it's the tannin content, and it's like that. The astringent, the kashayarasa of the Ashoga bark is the kashayarasa of the Ashoga bark is the major point we require in the case of Ashoga. So the conservation of Ashoga, conservation and propagation of Ashoga is a very needy condition for this industry. Then Pterocarpus sandalinus, with the common name of red sanders. It is a species of Pterocarpus endemic to the southern eastern Ghats. More than 30 formulations include Restodendron as ingredient. Guluchadi Kashaya, Sudarshana Arishta, Pushanika Churna, Ashwagandha Arishta, some of the famous yogas. Then operculum tarpetum. About 30 Ayurvedic formulations demand the use of just this drug. Major formulations are Abhyarishta, Chandraprabha Gulika, Trivut Churna, Manibhadra, Avibhati Churna, Nayopaya Lekha, Gulgulutirtha Kashaya, etc. This is Strobilantha ciliatus. More than 60 formulations demand this drug. Ayurveda prescribes the usage of this drug in various therapeutic dosage forms like Sahajradi Kashaya, Taila, Sahajradi Avarti, Sahajradi Kashaya, like that. Major formulations Mahasneham, Rasnadi, Maharasnadi Kashayam, etc. Strobilantha ciliatus. This Hemidismus indicus, used in more than 60 formulations. Major formulations Dashamula Arishta, Dashamula Jeraga Arishta, Draksha Arishta, then Kasturiya Diguliga, Manasamitra Vadagan, like that. Gandhailam, it is utilized Hemidismus indicus, Charibadya, these are the major species for the industry. So many other species are there, but industry. So I'm coming to my conclusion. Revival of this species can be effectively done only through creating awareness for conservation, like microforestation, like this Miyawaki forest programs. Then promoting medicinal plant cultivation, some new farm models we could adopt. In the case of it could be promoted as a cash crop. Medicinal plants as promotion of medicinal plants as cash crops. Promoting sustainable collection practices. Here, some capacity building programs we could arrange, and we will be able to support the harvesting and the collection practices as well as the storage practices. Species in reintroduction programs to reintroduce the species to places where they are likely to survive. Then genetic enrichment by establishing more in situ repositories. Then rehabilitation of habitat, destroyed species to an area where they can survive. These are my suggestions and my opinion in this regard. I would like to get some questions or some suggestions or some support for the.
Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. I hope we can move on to the next presenter.
Yeah. Next presenter, Dr. P.Y. Ansari.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Next presenter, Dr. P.Y. Ansari.
Yeah,
Hello, Dr. Ansari.
yeah.
Hello.
Yes, audible, ma'am. Audible, ma'am.
Yeah, audible. Okay.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Respected Dr. Sheila, madam, respected dignitaries, and dear friends. First, at the outset, I extend my sincere thanks to the organizers of Global Ayurveda Festival for giving me an opportunity to present and selected me for this session. The given topic to me is root cause analysis and strategies for revival of rare Ayurvedic plants. You know, see, there is a great demand of medicinal plants and also its various parts, as the demand is increasing worldwide because of the acceptance of alternative and various systems of medicine prevailing all over the world. So, first of all, we have to know, let us have a view on what is the status of India in the biogeographical position of the world. We know that 8% of the global biodiversity is prevailing in India, which consists of 2.4% of world's area. And out of 12 mega diversity, one hotspot is also prevailing in our country, India. And the importance is that we have got a unique biogeographical position which consists of almost all types of ecosystem, such as coldest places, dry cold deserts, temperature and alpine and subtropical regions, rainforests, west evergreen humid tropics, arid and semi-arid conditions, dry desert conditions, tidal mangroves. And we can see that around 47,000 species of plants are hardbred in our country. See, what's the scenario related to medicinal plant diversity in India? We know that India is very rich in the availability of medicinal plants, and these medicinal plants are distributed at 3 levels of biodiversity: species diversity, genetic diversity, and habitat diversity. And we know that, when the world average stands at 12.5% of plant species, India stands 20% for use of these plants for medicinal value or medicinal purpose. And according to a study conducted in 2016, out of 18,065 plants available in used as medicine in India, various systems of medicines, classical systems like Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani, utilize around 3,000 plants for various formulations. When we consider the availability of the medicinal plants related to its forest and non-forest habitats, we can see that 90% of the total medicinal plant biodiversity is collected from forest, and only 10% is restricted to non-forest habitats. That means still forest is the main source of collection of medicinal plant. And the important thing is, we know that the area of forest is considerably decreasing, and so we have to protect the forest area or the non-forest area to plant the medicinal plants in an according to this emergency situation. When we consider, when we go to the worldwide demand about the medicinal plant-based raw materials, there is, according to the see calculation of WHO, all over the world there is approximately 14 billion US dollar demand is there per year for medicinal plant-based raw materials. And this demand is increasing, steadily increasing at the rate of 15 to 25% annually. And India has got a plant-based related trade for approximately 1 billion US dollar per year. That's a study conducted in 2006. So there is a great demand for medicinal plant related trade and also the use of medicinal plant raw materials all over the world. And related to the what we call the side effect of this demand, we can see that so many species have been gone to the threatened list or vulnerable list, and we can see that in India a total of 560 plant species of have been included in IUCN red list of threatened species, and out of which 247 species are in the threatened category itself. And in India, various threats are classified by IUCN under the headings extinct in the wild, critically endangered, vulnerable, nearly threatened, etc. And the other aspect is one of the other aspect is that some species which has got least concern or least attention plants were also are also there. Some of the data related to some of the plants are not available still now, and some are remaining as not evaluated. So so many plants we have to identify, and we have to study what is the position at present. So this is all about the scenario related to the RET list. And in the case of rare species, we can see that the population is very, very less in the case of rare species, and naturally it goes for extinction. And now many of the species are facing extinction in our wild and also in our country. So when we go to the distribution of our medicinal species, important medicinal species according to the biogeographical area, we can see that the following list itself shows that these are the beneficial biogeographical zones which grow in abundant quantity or in a natural way, so that we can procure from that area. And it is not easy to cultivate these medicinal plants in other areas due to its genetic and other diversities. We can see that in Himalayan ranges or geographical zones, we can procure Aconitum, Heterophyllum, Paracrosa, Pistacia, Nardostachys, Sfertia, Valeriana, Taxus Valiciana, etc. Or Adividaya, Kadagi, then see Kirada Dikta, Jadamanchi, Talisapatra, etc. This is commonly seen or most probably we can met in Himalayan ranges, but it is not available in other biogeographical zones. In desert areas, we can see that Trachamella undulata, Centrus colosindus, Commiphora vitae, Acacia nilotica, etc. are available. In semi-arid areas, Balneis Egyptica, Bithania coagulans, Commiphora vitae, Boswellia serrata, Acacia nilotica, etc. are the important medicinal species. When we consider the Western Ghats, one can see that Myristica malabarica, Garcinia indica, Cocinium, Hypnus carpus, Garcinia gummicata, Veteria indica, Nilgiridia cilius are the commonly available or distributed medicinal species. And when we consider Northeast India zones, Aquilaria, Agaru, Hypnocarpus, Vetiveria cinerees are the common species. In Deccan Peninsula region, we can see that Eucalyptus, Scribera, Citinoids, Ptura carpus andalinus are the common species. In Gangetic plains, more distribution is met with Holarina codaja, Malatus philippensis, Campillaga, Plutia, Lanceolata, Erasna species, etc. So this is related with the this is the availability of important medicinal species according to the biogeographical zones. We can see these medicinal plants in such areas in an abundant way. So these areas are frequently see exploited for the collection and all this. And so, so naturally a depletion will be occurring or will occur according to the collection and according to the demand. When when we consider the various causes of threats of medicinal species, we can broadly we can say that environmental factors are there. We cannot check the environmental factors up to a certain extent, that is naturally occurring factors, but we can, of course, we can check the human involved interventions or the things what are adversely happening according to the intervention of the urbanization, then developmental activities, etc. Of course, we know that the protection of nature was in the past was seriously observed by the past generation or the previous generation. According to the that was a culture prevailing all over the world, and especially in Kerala and all over India. Now the culture has totally shifted to the modern way. That also was is a very important cause. And the another factor is we had to formulate some law, and establishment of law is an important thing to or lack of law or the rules and regulations that check the threats is also an important cause. So when we consider this one by one, we can say that the urbanization due to high population is an important cause for the loss of biodiversity. And in the case of wild, environment factors like less rainfall, deforestations, then siltation of water bodies, lack of pollinators, etc., where are the important causes for the habitat destruction, and that leads to the loss of intra-specific diversity of species. Another important is the cause is the loss of or the depletion of the forest area due to development of activities such as submersion, due to the construction of dams at various wild size or forest size, the infrastructure development, etc. Then another cause is the use of land for agriculture and industry, and also for utilizing the natural vegetation, etc. The forest area was decreased due to this involvement. Another thing is that for some forestry methods like a monoculture, like a plantation, teak plantation, then tea plantations, also acacia plantations, etc., also lead to the loss of biodiversity, then encroachment by the villagers, then over exploitation of the forest products by the harvesters. These are also a major cause for this threat. Uh, uh, from the WHO's calculation, we have seen that there is an increase in demand of the traditional systems of medicine worldwide. That itself produces an increase in the demand of medicinal plant parts, and that increases the commercialization of traditional plants at national and international level. So that places the medicinal plants at a high risk. Another thing is that unsustainable harvesting due to this increase in demand, and that harvesting and over harvesting weakens the regeneration potential. Most often they collected the saplings also for meeting the demand. Another important cause is the loss of local knowledge in the communities. We can see that actually the communities prevailing or living in the forest areas like tribals, and also related in the nearby villages, they have some traditional practices for collecting all forest materials for their daily living and also for medicinal purpose. They often see practice a traditional way of collection and all these things. So all these local knowledges were now say gone, and that loss of local knowledge leads to the lack of conservation of the important species. Another important thing we have to notice is that invasion of the species, alien species or unknown species, and also the crops and other type of trees and plantations, commercial plantations from other countries, that are also caused a threat and decrease depletion in the indigenous biodiversity. When the local people collect some medicinal plants or for a specific medicinal purpose, that produces some undue pressure on that particular species, leading to depletion in that particular species. Another cause is that in the case of trees, or we know that in order to develop a fully or to a full grown tree, it will take so many years to get a full grown, and it becomes flowers and to get the fruits and seeds. So plant growth itself is many times leads to species vulnerability. Before getting flowering and fruits or seeds, that trees are evacuated from that particular place for commercialization and other purpose. That also leads to the species vulnerability. Then the important thing is the lack of appropriate policies and legislations. We know that see, the government has formulated the policies and legislations toward the conservation, and also taken measures for cultivation of medicinal plants. so many hurdles are there to implement all these rules and regulations. So that's the failure to enforce them, for enforce the rules and regulations, also contributes to the cause of or the lack of conservation of medicinal plants. So considering this, when we go to the strategies taken for the revival of medicinal plants, the important thing is that when we consider the medicinal aspects or the potency and also the medicinal value of that, the phytoconstituents must be ensured, or the medicinal potency must be ensured. That potency may not be getting from a cultivated variety or with manures and etc. So we can ensure that from the wild. So, and also a natural growth is essential for the preservation of medicinal value in that particular plant or plant material. So the important thing is that first of all, we have to identify the species that need priority attention in each region or each places, and initiate programs or chart the programs accordingly to mitigate the threats. So we have to identify the species, what is the type of the threat they are facing, and the ecological system, study the ecological system and initiate the programs accordingly. Next is prioritize the conservation areas, taking into account the biodiversity of each region and rapidity of urbanization and economic changes. We know that in some areas urbanization rapidly happening. In such areas, we have to uh, we have to implement the programs according to the changes happening in that places, and also the biodiversity, the studies on the biodiversity of such regions should be undertaken. Based on that, we have to consider the conservation protocols. So conservation areas should be prioritized. That should be considered as the second thing. Then the important thing is to bring back the cultural practices and strengthen the cultural practices to ensure the sustainable management. Otherwise, it won't be possible. In most of the cases, it won't be possible by mere education or in a usual way, but based on the cultural and scientific aspects are inputs are given, that strengthens the practices sustainable management, and that itself reduces the commercial exploitation of traditional medicinal plant resources in that area. But of course, we have to consider the demand of that particular plant or plant material. So we have to support the cultivation and domestication as an alternative to meet the demands for the rare traditional medicinal plants, and we have to meet the supply uh, according to the demand. So this the source of supply may be meted with the cultivation and domestication. That's an important thing. Cultivation should be promoted. That's a need of the hour. Another thing is that in the case of urban areas, it is not able to cultivate trees or something trees like that. So we can concentrate on herbaceous and shrubbaceous shrub plants in the urban areas. We can select such type of plants for the urban areas. Another thing is that the ecological system, balanced ecological system is essential for the survival of human and also the animal kingdom. So we have to maintain the essential ecological processes. That definitely that includes the flora of that area or that zone. So that should be promoted, and according to the survey, based on the survival and economic activities happening in that particular area. So another thing is that see, educating the harvesters and importers about the sustainable harvesting, and also to create awareness on what are the threats they are creating to the particular species and also the mankind. So such an education is necessary. And the important thing is the execution of policies and legislation relating to the medicinal plants. And the focus should be given to access, possession, protection of community rights, and conservation. So the see, conservation of the entire community, not only the flora, the entire community based on the ecological system, and also the based on the life of the mankind should be promoted or should be executed by the legal by the legislation. The important two things we had to discuss is the in situ and ex situ conservation when we consider the conservation of medicinal plants. When we consider the in situ conservation, the important thing we have to look is to reintroduce the species that are heavily depleted by overcollection in that specific area once grew wild. See, the ecological system and also the biodiversity need importance in this case for the reintroduction of the species. So a list is essential, and that list should be followed for the reintroduction of the species. And in the case of extended species also, that should be reintroduced in the nature either to their original localities or in the similar habitat. So that is essential for the easy revival of the that particular species. And worldwide we can see that so many in situ conservation methods are there, like such as biosphere reservoirs, nature conservers, national parks, sacred sites, sacred groves, etc. So the modern methods and also the ancient methods of conservation methods have to be say promoted, and that should be established. Another thing is that we can ensure the revival of the species with managed habitats such as farms and plantation forests. In the case of farming, we can introduce the wild species. So many wild species like wild species of rices, etc. And in the case of plantation, also we can grow or we can introduce some species as intercrops. Some other complementary methods like on-farm conservation and farm gardens also can be established for the conservation of various species of medicinal plants. Next is related to ex situ conservation. For ex situ conservation, you have to give more priority to the species whose habits may have been destroyed or cannot be safeguarded. So so many ex situ conservation methods are there, like setting up field gene banks for long-lived species like trees and shrubs in botanical gardens, parks, etc., and seed banks for the native and cultivated medicinal plants. So these are the two important and mostly practiced ex situ conservation methods: field gene banks for trees and shrubs, and seed banks for the native and cultivated medicinal plants. And some other modern methods are also there for preserving the plant propagules for long-term gene banks like a seed bank, pollen bank, DNA libraries, etc. And we can utilize the advancements of tissue culture repositories and cryopreservation, preserved for the long, and we can plan according to the in a different area that possess the same biodiversity of that particular species. And in the case of mass propagation for the large scale revegetation, we can introduce and we can follow the methods, we can adopt the methods of cell culture and tissue culture technology. So many studies have been done, and so many researches have been undertaken in with this technology, and so many methods have been evolved in the case of medicinal plant, Ayurvedic medicinal plants. So tissue culture method is an important method we can adopt for the mass propagation for the large scale revegetation of these plants. So with these few points, I conclude my speech. I first thank all of you for a patient hearing. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Ansari, for a wonderful presentation. You have meticulously identified the reasons and put forward valuable strategies for policy development, conservation practices, etc., for the revival of rare medicinal plants. Thank you so much. And next presenter, Dr. Ravi Rao. He'll be speaking on resource mapping for in situ conservation. Dr. Ravi Rao, please.
Am I audible? Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Shall I share the slide from my side?
Yeah, please.
You cannot start share while other participant is sharing. I think still Dr. Ansari sir is sharing his.
No, sir, it's over, sir.
It's over, sir. It's over, sir.
Yeah.
Admin, please.
Ma'am, it's over, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll share now. It is now the. I think the slide is visible.
No, sir. Can you try it one more time?
Is it? It is not visible.
No, sir.
Just a minute. Technical glitches. Sorry.
No problem.
Is it visible?
No, sir. It is not visible.
Can you share from your end, sir?
Sir, I can hear you, sir, but the slide is not visible.
Just a minute. I will try once again.
Okay, sir. Sir, I think your slide should be shared by the technical team.
Yeah, then it will be better. Yeah. Thank you.
1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, please. Some technical issue is there. Sorry. Anyway, I'm very much thankful for the Global Ayurveda, the team, for giving me a wonderful the period. Special thanks to Dr. Sheila Madam as well as Ansari sir. It is a very great, good initiative which has been taken from them regarding the conservation as well as the looking about the endangered plant, because all of us we think and we use the medicinal plant, but the conservation aspect is the very much lacking as such. So the in future, for the future generation, when we think of, or when the medicinal plant is being exploited very heavily, the first and foremost thing that is required is the conservation. That is why the topics that has been selected from them is really genuine one, and it is the need of the hour. So I congratulate the whole team for the wonderful effort by them. So today I will be speaking about resource mapping for in situ conservation as such. So already the Ansari sir has beautifully pointed out about the root cause analysis, and the Sheila madam also has said that is the how the so not many plants have become RET and how they are being used in the industry linkage. She has pointed out as such, and sir also has pointed about the few things the how in situ conservation will be very much useful for conservation. And I will the highlight about the resource mapping as such, actually why resource mapping is required and how it can be done as such. Next slide, please. So one, I think, back slide. In, I think the slide which one I had shared, it is not there over here. Can I have the other slide? This was a gist actually I had sent. So two slides I had shared actually. One was the gist, and the can it be shared? Sorry, audience. Anyway, I'll speak about that is we know that is total wealth of the medicinal plant is the more than 20,000 species of the plants are available with us, and among them nearly 2,000 or more than the 2,000 plants are used by the medical practitioners. But to our the so not great astonishment, nearly 4,000 species are being used by the folklore practitioners. The folklore practitioners they so not use the medicinal plant more than us, which again highlights that it is very much important for us to the so not approach even the folklore people as such actually, so that the vast knowledge which is there with them, it can be the so not put up with the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, and the whole of the these people will be benefited by this as such. Can I get the slides? Anyway, okay. So not when we look into the fact sheet which is shared by the National Medicinal Plant Board, the status of the medicinal plant is really wonderful to see it as such. See here, 20 agroeconomical the zones have been identified, and out of which 17 biodiversity is have been the so not mega diversity biodiversity countries have been included, and one among them is our the India, where 7% of the world's biodiversity is there in with us as such. And it has been established that 47,000 the flowering plants are there as such actually, and out of which around 20,000 we see about the different species, other species. And it has also been totally, as already Sir Ansari sir pointed, 1,200 are in the species are in trade, and out of which 250, around 250 plants are in the huge trade, that is more than the 100 metric ton the trade, it is in the demand as such. And it has been observed that the out of 242 as such, the nearly so not 90% of our formulations, it may be Ayurveda or Siddha or Unani, they use the herbal drugs as such, and this is really putting a heavy load on our medicinal plants. And because of this as such actually, our medicinal plants are fast disappearing from the natural habitat as such. And it has been the estimated that the medicinal plant the industry by 2030, it may grow about to 5 trillion US dollars. That is what is the expected as such. And the Anil Kumar as such from the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, he has said that is he has reported that the tribals, they use the medicinal plants mainly for the healing, that is the first priority, and not only for healing, and they also use it for the non-medicinal the activity like the timber etc. Also they rely on the forest as well as the medicinal plants as such. And when we see into the so not supply of the medicinal plants, out of the so not
Sir?
nearly two. Yeah, please.
So shall we share the earlier slide? That's the
Yeah, it
only
is.
slide we have, sir.
Okay, I had sent actually to GF1. Anyway, you share it. No issues.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Or shall I try once again the slide with me?
Sir, no, sir. We will share, sir. That
You
will be
please.
better.
Yeah, that will be better. And when we look into the current scenario, as I said already, 250 around 250 medicinal plants are there, out of which the amount the forest is one of the main source from where the plants have been collected. Nearly 115 species have been collected from the forest, and nearly from the wasteland 59 plants are there, and the so not imports about 15 plants are there as such. But it has been seen only 54 plants have been uh, under the cultivation. This again suggests that 72% of the species are from the high demand, and they have been the so not taken from the natural resources, as already Ansari sir pointed, and only 22% are from the cultivation. This is really the sort of subject which we have to look into as such actually, as 72% has been exploited from the natural resources. This is putting a great stress on our the forest, and the fast disappearing of the medicinal plant wealth is being taking place as such. And apart from that, and because of this, the demand and supply, as there is increased demand for the medicinal plant, which is a very good the so not a thing as such for us. But as when there is a demand, the supply is becoming less because the forest is being exploited. So as the so not supply is less, this is being the leading to adulteration, and this because of the adulteration, decrease in quality of the medicines that is being prepared is they happening as such actually. So we have to seriously see about it as such. And apart from that, the so, uh, is the slide available, please?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I'm trying again, please. Just now, the slide
Okay.
from my side. Is it visible now? Is it visible?
Sir, no, sir.
No.
No,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
Sir,
Then yeah, please
sir, give us
share the
some
slide
time,
with
sir.
me.
We will share it, sir. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah, no issues, no issues.
So just a minute, sir. We have got it. We will put it right now.
Yeah. Sorry for everyone. Technical things do happen.
It's okay, sir. Please.
Shall I continue, or should I wait? Yeah. Yeah, this is the one actually. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So this is what actually I was speaking. The yeah. Next, please. Can you continue with the slide? Sir, are you opening the slide? Yeah. This this is what I was speaking as such actually. There is 72% of the plants actually are being so not taken from the natural resource, and only 22% have been from the cultivation. So this is really the thing to be pondered as actually. And apart from that, next please. We are also seeing that is demand and supply. Of course, it's a good thing that is the supply, the demand is more, but unfortunately the supply is less, and this is led to the adulteration and also decrease in quality as such actually. And decrease in quality is really bothering the industry, as pointed out by the Sheila madam as such. The next please. And this again, one survey has reported in the Times of India that is 93% of wild medicinal plants are endangered list as actually. This is again a worrying factor, which we think we have to, so not, why do we have to resource map as well? Next, please. And another study that is from the IUCN, it has been shown that the medicinal plants, they are being the overexploited. So this is again leading for the load on the present the medicinal plant present as such. So leading to the adulteration and such things as such. Next, play. So this is what actually is the thing which is making us to drive for the resource mapping as such actually. So whatever resource which we have, this has to be the so not mapped as such actually. And when we the mapping is the first step that has to be done, which will help to understanding as well as the when it is done, the major intervention in the process, it is a moving forward for enhancing the systematic effectiveness. So when it is done as such actually, this will help for the conservation of the medicinal plant. Next, please. Why? Because regardless of the nature of the program as such, resource mapping can support variety of the efforts. It's not only for medicinal plant, but from the medicinal plant perspective, it will help in identifying the potential herbs, rare plants as such, and also endangered plant. And we can think about how we can move ahead with this whatever the lacuna that we have. So that is why we have to do the resource mapping first. Next, please. So why we have to map resource? This will help us for the process for collecting and analyzing the information. Whatever the information that is available regarding the plant, this will help to give the information, and this will give a visual representation of the resource. How much the plants that we have got as such now as such, and what gap that we have got as such, and what best that we can do as such, and the mode of the information sharing, what the which the so not where we have to share the information and how we have to share the information. This the information that will be present with us as actually, and most importantly, it will be a starting point for the comprehensive and effective strategy, because everything or anything that has to be done, it should be with a proper strategy, and this will help us to make a proper strategy for the next thing, that is for the conservation as such. Next, please. And so what is resource mapping as actually? First thing is actually it helps to identify the resource and barriers. What are the resources that is available, and what is the barrier that we have got as such. And accordingly, we can use the strategized use of the resources can be done, and explore our drug resources as such actually. And it will help for identifying the limitation, whatever that is present with the identifying, etc. And also it will help for proper coordination, and it will reduce the gap, and it will make us to access the resources in better way as such actually. Next, please. And when we think of the resource mapping as such actually, there are 4 stages as such actually. One is pre-mapping, very important as such actually, pre-mapping. And next is the mapping, that is the vital part that we see as such actually. And next is the strategic implementation, how that we implement it. And along with that, evaluate and refresh and recycle. This is the next part. So next, please. When we do as I said, pre-mapping is very important, because the who is going to the help in this process, that is the first thing that we have to identify. And what type of information that we are going to gather, that is very important, about the plant or what they use, etc. From whom we are going to collect the information, and what information that already we have, that also should be there as actually. These things are very important as actually. And consider the frames of reference, that is what is the scope and goal of mapping, that is what is to be done, that is also to be considered. And how we can go, what is the procedure for conducting the mapping. These things first we have to analyze, and then we can go for the next stage. That is next, please. The mapping stage. That is very vital part of the resource mapping. That is identify the resource available in your site. Whatever it, as Sir has pointed out, the northeastern part, Himalayan part, the Nilgiri, the western, the Ghats as such actually. All these actually, when we go as such actually, they go around. Each time as actually when we go around, the resource is fast depleting. So we have to identify the site first as such actually, and how well are the resources coordinated and integrated. That is the next thing that we have to consider. And the what type of program that we can do as such actually over there, like how the conservation or how the identification can be done, that has to be taken. And what is the missing and where the capacity to fill these gaps, that has to be considered in this period as such actually. Next, please. And when we map plant as such actually, at site the mapping is important as such actually. And what do they do as such actually? That is the title or the plant's name as such actually, and its function or its uses, and any hidden information that is available, that should be taken from them as such actually. And where are they available? From this place and in any other place also, whether it is available, this information should be collected as such actually. Next, please. A small the next, please. The mapping plans a format that has been taken from the other thing as such actually, where we can go for the title, that is the plant's name as such actually, and its availability as such actually, how much it is available, and individual as such actually, that is the who has given the information, and the contact of the individual as such actually, and the quality information, that is the whether the quality information is the first hand or whether it is from the second or third hand, that type of information as such actually. And any users as such actually, the specific users as such, or any extra relevant information, these things can be made as such actually, and this will help to give a chart as such actually, and which we can further use for the collection the information. Next, please. So when we have done our first thing actually, that is resource mapping has been done, the next thing is the conservation. So when we do conservation in the biodiversity, it is very much important as such actually, because when we look into the biodiversity as such, the conservation of the can be two types, in situ as well as ex situ, and these both type of the conservation are very much important, because the Ramsay et al, it has been observed that is ex situ also helps to improve upon the in situ conservation. So both should go hand in hand. It is not that only in situ conservation is taken care and ex situ is not taken care. Both are to be very much required as structurally, because our am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah. Sorry, the call was there between. So preserving the habitat is the most important the thing as structurally. So therefore, the both type of conservation are required as structurally. But here I will highlight about the next, please. Here I shall highlight about the in situ conservation aspect. So where the in situ conservation, it refers to the protection and maintenance of the plants or organisms in natural habitat. Very important, as I said already, 72% have been collected from the natural habitat. So we have to give more stress for improving upon our natural habitat. And this natural area is protected and maintained to conserve all known or unknown species. Recently, the two alternate species have been they reported as directly. So each time when we do conservation, we come across the new species. So even the new species are to be protected, because the new species can become the very good replacement for already available drug as actually. That is what even the liberty that is given by Ayurveda, because wherever the which is very much the practically used in Kerala, like Coccinum fenestratum is being used instead of the berberis. So all the or more in the Muru also, they have got the different sources as actually very well used over there as actually, which has to be implemented in every part, because we cannot go after the what is the main drug as actually. We have to go for the sort of substitute as such actually. But when substitute, we have to go for from the natural habitat, it will always be better. So, and apart from that, the entire natural habitat, when it is the restored, to ensure the proper balance in structure and function of the ecosystem. So ecosystem to function properly, we have to maintain balance. So how it can be done is actually by establishing the national park, the sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, etc. Next, please. So when we think of from the biotechnology point of view, two types are there as already discussed, in situ, ex situ. We'll be highlighting morely the maximum on the in situ, that is biosphere reserves, national parks, tiger reserves, and the wildlife sanctuaries. Why these also have taken, I will explain it later. Please, next, please. First is protected areas. The protected areas constitute about they are the important area from where the along with the wildlife, even the plant species are also being protected, and this has come under the different acts as such actually. Forest Act 1972, 1980, the Conservation Act, Biodiversity Act, etc. Next, please. And the India being the member of the CITES, IUCN, and these things actually. So the protected areas are very important as actually. And what is the protected areas? We'll see next, please. See, we have got the detailed the state-wise the list as such actually, and each state is contributing for improving upon our the natural resources as such actually. Next, please. So in situ, we can go for biosphere reserves as such actually, which is the very important aspect as such actually, and national parks, developing of the national parks, and along with that, the animal, the resource like tiger reserves, the reserves as well as wildlife sanctuary. Next, please. So when we speak about the biosphere reserves as such actually, the biosphere reserve it concentrates on the land, water, atmosphere, the all life on the earth as such actually, and its conservation is being taken care over here as such actually, and so therefore in the conservation, the biosphere reserve protection is very important. Next, please. Development of the biosphere reserve is very important. Next, please. So we have got have got the 18 biosphere reserves, and we are very happy to have the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve among us, which covers Tamil Nadu, Kerala, as well as Karnataka. And apart from that, some of the other the reserves as shown here, Gulf of the Mannar and the Sundarbans, as such actually Nanda Devi. These are the in the Uttarakhand. These are the some of the biosphere reserves are there as such actually. These reserves they not only protect the animals as such actually, they also help to improve upon the plant species. Why that I'll explain in the next, please. Next. So we have got the zonation system in the biosphere reserves as actually, where core area will be there, buffer area will be there, and transitional area will be there. And this buffer area as well as transitional area, this can very well be used are used for the upcoming of the medicinal plants that is available in that area, so that we can very much see that the plants are being conserved in that particular area. Next, please. So next thing is national parks as such actually. National park is an area having adequate ecological, faunal, floral, and geomorphological as well as natural. Even here the plants are given very much important as actually, and the conservation of as such actually the recreational activities also given very much important, and we can see that is it was with the objective of the supporting environmental process and to promote the education and conservation. So these areas and national parks help to promote the medicinal plants also as such actually. Next, please. And we have got nearly 515 animal sanctuaries are there, and the 41 and another report has been said that is 47 tiger reserves are there, and these the sanctuaries as such actually also help to develop our medicinal plant in its surroundings as such. Next, please. These are some of the sanctuaries, that is wildlife sanctuaries as per the government data that is available as such actually, wildlife sanctuaries. Next, please. We can see that is Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary and Wayanad Sanctuary, and these are the sanctuaries actually where along with the animal sanctuary, the medicinal plants are also given a very good importance as actually, and conservation can be promoted in these areas also as such. Next, please. The tiger reserves nearly 47 as per the report of the 2014, it is available as strictly, and this area can also be very well be used for conservation of the medicinal plants, developing of the medicinal plants. Next, please. These are the tiger reserves that is available with us. Next, please. So, in nutshell, when we see different the studies as such actually, 41 identified the RET plants is available from one study, and as sir has already said, that is the huge list of the RET plants are available, and few of the plants like the Sarpagandha, Litsia, Gloria, Gloriosa Superba, and which we think that is very common, are also becoming sort of entering into the RET, and these are being conserved very well in the IMMT research garden. Conservation is being taken. Next, please. And the another report has said that is the elephant's foot or Jatamamsi, Kutki, and the Raktachandan and the Sarpagandha. These are the few plants which are being reported in another article. That is, these have become the endangered, and the good care has been taken to conserve these plants. Next, please. And another list they shows that some of the plants like the Gugulu in the Gugulu, as well as the Kushta and the Kutki, Kiratikta, Vankakdi. These are the next place. These are the plants, the list that is available, which are becoming the endangered and are need to be taken care of. Next, please. The another list like the even we think there is Alpina calculator. This is also becoming the endangered or the becoming the rare commodity as actually, and the Pterocarpus marsupium, Rauwolfia. These are some of the species which are fast disappearing. Next, please. When we think, as Madam has already pointed out, that is even the Sariva, or it may be the Chandana, or it may be Curcuma nilgirensis, or it may be Hydnocarpus. These are the few plants which we think very common. These are also entering into the RET. This is a really matter of concern as such. Next, please. And so the resource mapping as such actually will help us in identifying the number of available plants in our area, and also it will give an idea about rare plants which are present or becoming endangered as such actually. And apart from that, when we do resource mapping, it will give us the uses of the plant from the particular area, how it is being used as such actually. And it also helps us to prepare a report as such, the report, and give it to the concerned authority, so that the concerned authority can take care for further conservation as such actually. And apart from that, it will also help us for the documentation of the medicinally important the species, which indicates vast repository of the herbal, the crude drug, which is very much required. And also it will help us for the extensive ethnobotanical exploration, which is required to establish the herbal, the crude drug center, creating ample scope for earning revenue, because everyone needs the revenue as such actually, and the revenue generation can be increased as such. Next, please. And when we see and report, it has been reported that is in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, 4 indigenous communities have been identified, 39 endemic medicinal plants have been reported as actually, and for using of the community, and the 83 plant species have been used by the semi-pastoral Gujar community of Himachal Pradesh, and 32 are being used as medicine alone as such. These are the reports that we can gather when we do the resource mapping as such. Next, please. And apart from that, why in situ conservation is very much important, as sir already pointed out, it's a first-hand conservation. So when we take medicinal plant from its natural habitat, plant will have its own it will always be superior as such, because it will have the best possible chemical constituent in it, as strictly alkaloids, etc. Because it fights naturally as strictly the natural stress, and the plant will always have the superior quality in it as such. And the comparatively, this is the even though it is this area is less exploited in the conservation, so conservation needs to be taken care as such, and this may provide some vital clues for further investigation of the future drug development program as such. And one such the drug that has come out is also called miracle herb, that is the Arogya Pacha, that is nothing but the Trichocephalus xylenicus from the the community of the southern Kerala. So this is one thing, and many other things will come up as quickly. So we need to go for the resource mapping as well as the in situ conservation, so that even in the current times, research on the medicinal plants and their the use across India documents, and the local communities and especially indigenous ones will give us its different uses also, and it will help us to for the conserve whatever we have as actually, and the generate the wealth as well as wealth of medicinal plants, as such the wealth of the money to the next generation, and the so that whenever the medicinal plant is being used, can be preserved, and our future generation will really benefit from the whatever that we can do as such actually. This is what I they feel as such actually, and thank you for GF team for giving me an opportunity to present my view. Special thanks to Sheila Madam as well as Ansari sir for giving me an opportunity to present my view. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Devi Rao, for an informative presentation. As I said, to function very well, every system has to fully understand and manage its resources. So, the guidelines regarding need and importance of resource mapping mechanism in in situ and ex situ conservation are commendable. Definitely, GF will look into this matter for revival of priority medicinal plants and will support the end users. Thank you once again for your valuable speech, sir. Thank you very much. And next speaker, Dr. Prakash Hegde. Sir, current challenges met with the Ayush pharma industry and revival by exploring the potential of extra pharmacopoeial drug. Dr. Prakash Hegde?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, please, sir.
So Ajay sir has shared the slides.
Oh, sorry. I will shut up.
Admin,
I
please.
will shut up. Sorry.
Because we are having some.
No, ma'am. It is from sir. Sir only. Sir.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. This is to keep the flow of the slides, flow of the program. That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Prakash?
Can I share, sir?
Yes, sir. You can.
That's me, sir.
Yes.
I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. Then. Yes. Shall I start?
Yes, sir. You
Please,
can
sir.
start.
Please,
Yeah.
sir. Can.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Respected fellow speakers, admin, and coordinator Sheila Madam, and everybody who is watching this session. The topic which I'll be focusing is current challenges met with Ayush pharma industry and revival by exploring the potential of extrapharmacological drugs. The presentation will have the content like introduction, challenges, extrapharmacological drugs, current health hazards, and finally conclusion. So to start with the introduction, everybody knows that everybody is thinking about plant sources nowadays because it is being a key source of drug or treatment strategy in different traditional medical systems since ages. Whatever may be the system like Ayush systems, we are depending on plant sources. So that is why we need to worry about continuous availability of the plant sources. Then another thing is nowadays the trend is changing. Like from synthetic drugs, the people are looking towards herbal preparations for their health care or to improve their health or to maintain good healthy conditions. They'll be opting for herbal preparations. So it's known fact that 75% of the plant-based therapeutic entities used worldwide, which are including or which are taken from traditional or folklore system. We have a look at the herbal industry. So herbal products market, it is touching $80 billion. Estimated growth annually is 7%. And it is estimated that by 2050, there will be market of 6 trillion. This is a report by Exim. And when we look at Indian market, so there are 4,205 crore business. This is the statistics of 2013. Then export of Ayurvedic drugs are up to 440 crores. It's a huge market. And given the importance which is given by policymakers nowadays, I think it is going to double very quickly. And we are very sure that in recent, like coming 5 years of time, we definitely reach higher goals. Then what is the current scenario? We have so many health hazards, which may be like environmental issues. When we speak about health hazards, like we have a new entity called COVID-19, everybody started thinking about immune boosting drugs. So, which is well known truth that we have immune boosters. So people are thinking or started having herbal preparations for their health needs. But because of this, there is increasing demand of herbal preparations. But on the other hand, there is increasing cost of manufacturing of products. So it requires more regulatory requirements. That is the need of the hour. Then there are more than 10,000 manufacturing units of Indian traditional medicines which are present in India. Among them, majority, that is 7,744 manufacturing units are from Ayurveda sector. Like Ayurveda drugs are being prepared by them. Then what are the challenges which are faced by the pharma industries, especially when it comes to Ayurveda pharmaceutical industries? The first and foremost one is adulteration. And when there is demand, more of demand, people are like getting more demands, means they'll have to prepare the required quantity of formulations to reach the demand. So when they are not able to get the required raw material, then the first step they would be doing is adulterating the raw material. Then another thing is misidentification of plant. Maybe region wise there is misidentification. Then again the faulty collection, faulty preparation, incorrect formulation process. All these are the key factors affecting the quality and purity of herbal medicines. So that leads to it may be because of very less awareness about the quality issues. So what it does is it reduces the effectiveness of herbal preparations. At present, there may be great demand and we may be able to give good result. But if this continues, then we may not be able to give the proper formulations to the needy or the society. Then another challenge which is faced by the industry is processing and harvesting issues. Like I'm not going in detail about all these things, but I have a point to prove there. Like there is some alternatives which can be adopted very effectively into Irish pharma industries so that we can revive the endangered plants. That is my idea. So here, the processing and harvesting issues, which includes indiscriminate harvesting, poor agricultural and propagation methods, poor pre-harvest practices and even post-harvest practices, lack of processing techniques. What it does, it results in substandard quality of drugs. Then third important challenges which is faced by Irish pharma industries is quality control related issues. That means standardization, poor quality control procedures which are followed, lack of GMP, that is good manufacturing practices, lack of awareness regarding the guideline among growers and manufacturers, lack of implementation regulations of the guideline. So these are the 5 important factors coming under quality control related issues. This results in substandard quality of herbal drugs. The next challenge which is faced by pharmaceutical industries, infrastructure related issues. The first one is lack of processing techniques, lack of trained personnel, lack of sophisticated instruments, reduced utilization of modern techniques. So again, this is also one very important factor which results in substandard formulations. Then another challenge which is faced by Irish pharmacies is having adequate clinical trials. Clinical trials are very important for development of drugs, which is necessary to understand safety and efficacy, to which we give a lot of importance. Then once it is proven clinically that it is safe, then only it is released into the global market. Then IPR and biopiracy issues. Biopiracy, you all know, it is the major difficulty in promotion of herbal traditional medicine. Um, Documentation of folk knowledge. We all know that there are thousands of medicinal plants which are being used by folklore practitioners. But what is the problem is they may not reveal all the things, may keep the secret with them till their last breath. So that may go without like reaching the next person. So that will be one very important thing. So to solve that problem, what can be done is we'll have to document the treatment modalities or the drug combinations done by the folklore practitioners. Then another thing is research and development. Research and development, like on different aspects, maybe on dosage, maybe on processing techniques, and any other techniques which can be considered very much needed thing for development of any new drug. And research is again very important to understand the mode of action and pharmacokinetics phenomenon, and improvement or creation of monographs and reference standards for marker-based analysis, which are very necessary at this point of time. Now coming to the core point of my presentation, the biggest challenge which is faced by Ayush pharmaceutical industries is non-availability of raw material. So procurement of raw material is very important for any pharmaceutical industry to prepare formulations. Various formulations are being prepared by pharmaceutical industries, but very much basic prerequisite is availability of raw material. But the challenges which are faced at present is shortage of raw material. So once there is shortage of raw material, then it leads to escalation in prices. Then once escalation of prices are noted, then it leads to lowering of standards in the raw material, because there starts with the adulteration. So once adulteration is there, then we cannot expect the desired results from the formulations which are being prepared. Then how to overcome this challenge? Again, that is the biggest challenge which is faced by Ayush pharmaceutical industries. Now, the first and foremost point is we'll have to promote cultivation of medicinal plants, so that once we increase the cultivation, if it exceeds the requirement, naturally there will be sustainability in availability of raw materials. Then we have to, like, how can we improve the yield? By implementing good agricultural practices. Then we'll have to implement good pre-harvesting and post-harvesting practices. Then we'll have to implement good storage practices also. We'll have to promote sustainable harvesting of minor forest products. How to promote cultivation of medicinal plants here? Large-scale cultivation by pharmaceutical industries can be taken up, that which reduces the dependency on natural resources. Means they'll have to take up extensive cultivation. So that will promote commercial cultivation by farmers, so that it improves the quality of life of farmers, and also it improves the quality of formulations which are prepared by pharmaceutical industries. So to give some example here, like Vidania somnifera or ashwagandha, which is commonly promoted nowadays as the major immune booster for COVID-19. So people are knowing about ashwagandha, but to be frank, we are unable to reach the requirement of the common public or health sector. So where we are facing acute scarcity of ashwagandha, Vidania somnifera. And another thing is, nowadays everybody is leading a lavish life, so which leads to lifestyle related disorders like hypertension. And we all know that the best medicinal plant which is available in Ayurveda for hypertensive condition is Rauwolfia serpentina, that is Sarpagandha. We all know that it is already included in RET, that is red and endangered or threatened plant list. So in near future, we may lose this plant for like from this area only. That is why it's very important to promote the cultivation of medicinal plants. Then definitely we can adopt newer techniques like tissue culture. So tissue culture helps to multiply the sapling. For example, we have Yashtimadu, which is very commonly used in Ayurveda preparations, Glycyrrhiza glabra. So like it may not be possible for us to grow widely in this southern part of India. But what can be done is we'll have to prepare by using tissue culture techniques. If we prepare saplings, then it will resist climatic variations also, and it promotes yield also, and which improves the chemical constants which are present in the plant species, and it is very easy for us to raise the saplings. So that's why newer techniques can be effectively adopted. But one thing we'll have to ensure here, whatever may be the plants, medicinal plants which we are growing, we are always looking for chemical constants which it possesses, right? So here we have to ensure that proper quantity of chemical constants which are present in the saplings which we are growing, that has to be ensured so that we can maintain good quality of formulations. Then we'll have to implement good agricultural practices, like it includes soil preparation, sowing techniques, irrigation techniques, manuring, de-weeding, harvesting. All these practices, if we are following, definitely we can expect larger or more yield from the crop. Then implementing good pre and post harvesting practices. Here we have to follow the proper steps in pre and post harvesting time. Then we have to ensure proper maturity before we collect the plant parts. Proper arrangement for drying and storing is also equally important. Then most important one is we can promote usage of extra pharmacopoeial drugs as substitute. Here, few of the examples I would like to give. So for upper respiratory infections, allergic rhinitis, asthma, chronic fatigue, the best drug which is commonly used in Ayurveda is Yashtimadu, that is Glycyrrhiza glabra. If we go on using this, it's already there in RET, we may lose this species completely. So to promote this, like to save this happening, what can be done is we can go for effective substitute in the form of Astragalus monogolicus, which is an extra pharmacopoeial drug. So once we started using this Astragalus monogolicus, the dependency on Yashtimadu goes down. So we can protect. Then for headache or vata related issues, pain, inflammation and arthritis, the best drug which is commonly used in Ayurveda is Lucia lancidata. We call it as Rasta. So if we reduce using this Lucia lancidata, we can definitely save it for next generation. So what is the next drug which can be used as an effective substitute is Sapochnikovia divaricata, which is also having similar chemical properties. So it can be used in headache, pain, inflammation and arthritis. The next thing is rhinitis and cough. So you all know this drug. This is called Bharangi, that is Clerodendron serratum. Again, it is already included in endangered list of medicinal plants. So again, we'll have to reduce the dependency on this Clerodendron serratum or Bharangi. Then what can be done? We can search effective substitute in the form of Pelargonium pseudoides. So this can be used in the place of Bharangi or Clerodendron serratum. The next very important drug is Rolfia serpentina. We all know it is Sarpagandha. It's already in endangered list of medicinal plants. So what can be done here is, in a place of Sarpagandha, you all know this another picture, that is Rolfia tetraphylla, which can be used as an effective substitute in the place of Sarpagandha. Then what has to be done if both are red listed and commonly, like for example, Embellia. For this, we are using it as like using Embellia's Xerium cortum as a substitute, but both have become red listed now. So what has to be done? Then we have to go for other drugs which are not in the list of red listed plants. Then a very important condition which everybody is facing now is diabetes. You all know that Pterocarpus marsupium, that is asana on your screen, which is very commonly used. Like we have several preparations like asana dikashaya or several preparations from asana. So where hardwood is used. Now everybody is looking at Ayurvedic formulations or herbal formulations for diabetes. What is happening now is we are not able to prepare the required quantity of asanadi and kashaya. So what has to be done is we'll have to go for other substitute which has got similar properties like Eugenia jambolena or jambu. Again, if like jambu is commonly available, if in certain areas jambu is not available, that is Eugenia jambolena is not available, then you can go for Lindera aggregata. So bottleneck in this is like we can easily say it can be used as an effective substitute, but there are some bottlenecks like lack of documentation or validation of extra pharmacopoeial drugs. It has to be done first. Then there is again variation from area to area. In one area, the plant may possess better chemical constituents than other area. Then we have to be very sure about the toxicity, because toxicity profile should be there to utilize it in common public. Efficacy, again we'll have to show the proof that it has got very good efficacy in the given condition. Then not properly designed quality assurance protocol at present. We'll have to develop or design quality assurance protocol. So once we are able to clear this bottleneck, then definitely we can utilize so many extra pharmacopoeial drugs from hidden treasure of India. So then we can reduce the dependency on red, endangered, threatened plants. There are new areas to see. These are new diseases which are afflicting mankind now. That's why there is a scope for utilization of new drugs in these diseases. So we can say it as a threat to common public, but definitely in the available source or by doing some research works, definitely we can bring so many herbal species as a remedy for COVID-19 or so many lifestyle disorders like diabetes, hypertension, thyroid disorders, and even cardiac disorders are increasing at present. Carcinomas, always a threat. Then so many occupational hazards also afflicting. Then above all, stress and mental disorders. To all these new areas or threats, definitely we can have an answer from extra pharmacopoeial field, and we can utilize those drugs. And finally, I would like to conclude, high time to explore rich sources of extra pharmacopoeial drugs. Yes, because as we discussed, there are so many new threats which is afflicting mankind now. definitely we have more than lakhs of species which are there in our biodiversity, so which where we can do some research works so that they can bring bring into the mainstream and we can use it as a effective remedy. Then extra pharmaceuticals drugs can be used as an alternative to endangered species, so that which reduces the dependency on red listed plants. So it will promote the pharmaceutical industries growth also, and also it addresses so many challenges which are faced by the pharmaceutical industries at present, maybe inadequate raw material supply or so many other things can be addressed. So with this I would like to conclude. This is the references which I have taken, and I would like to thank everyone who is listening to me online, and I would like to thank the team of GAF for giving me this opportunity. And I would like to thank Sheila Madam, Ansari Sir, Ravi Rao Sir, Dr. Ajayan Sir, and everybody, Arjun, and everyone who has given me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hegde, for a rich presentation. You have conveyed the challenges, concerns, and issues met with the industry. The information regarding effective extra-pharmacopil substitutes and the bottlenecks, utilization of extra-pharmacopil drugs in contemporary disease segments are thought-provoking. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Next speaker, our Ajayan Sadanandan, Dr. Ajayan Sadanandan. He will talk about this biodiversity concerns on conservation, propagation, and sustainable utilization of rare medicinal plants. Dr. Ajayan, please.
Thank you, madam. So good evening, everybody. The most respected Sheila madam, Ansari sir, Prakash sir, Ravirao sir, Arjuna and other main doctors and delegates. So it's a great opportunity to share some of the information regarding the biodiversity and its interactions with the life forms on the earth, especially related to the medicinal plants. So here we can see that life is a complex thing that is existing in the earth, and it has a very unique interactions with the surroundings in all forms. So in this paper, trying to share some of the information regarding these biodiversity importance with nature and its life forms, especially with the medicinal plants. So this paper will contains an introduction, role of biodiversity on host defense system, and the role of biodiversity in concerns of conservation, propagation, and sustainable utilization, and some of the models of biodiversity conservation, discussions, and future perspectives. So the life, the most beautiful and complex things that is occurring on the earth. So that make the blue planet a diverse planet in this solar system. So Earth is the third planet from the Sun and has 70% of surface water and 30% of oxygen. So these biophysical resources of diversity made the Earth in such a form of life from a unicellular to multicellular lives. So the biodiversity also plays an important role to maintain these life forms. So the air, water, land, and the heat or humidity that is existing in the earth is the most essential basic thing that needed for our life forms. So each and every life forms are formed according to these the dependence of these physical entities: air, land, water, and humidity. So in this constant, if you see the various creatures existing in the earth, we can see that the biodiversity is very much related to the mode of life and the existence of each species. So if you see this, the butterflies are having a beautiful pigments of the lace wing butterfly, and the Sahyadri lace wing on the second one here has having these types of beautiful pigments, and its worms also has having such type of a diverse pigments. From where they are gathering these pigments? They are gathering from the plant species. So they are collecting some extra metabolic components from the plants and it produced pigmentations in these butterflies. Sometimes these pigmentations will help them to protect from the predators and it is poisonous to the predators also. So like that, there will be a complete interaction of plant kingdom with the animal kingdom for each and every existence of life. And when we see to the plants, plants also producing such type of a specific type of diverse defense mechanisms for their existence. So you can see that here, Drosera indica, an insectivorous plant that occurring on a rough, harsh surface of a rock piece when the rain is coming. So with little resources, this plant will sustaining there, but it is not possible to sustain for a long time in this place. So what they adopted means they're producing some sticky materials and that will catch up the insects and digest it and it is taken as the food. So the plants are taking an adaptation according to the biodiversity. So the role of biodiversity is very important in host defense systems. So presently also you can see that the various types of infectious disease are most prevalent in every part of the world. And why it is happening? Because there will be an imbalancing of these biodiversity is happening. So we have to look into the biodiversity imbalance in terms of air, water, and land problems. And then we have to try to correct it by various methods. So when we see this, nowadays we can see that there will be a heavy pollutions of air, water, and soil, and radioactive pollutions in one part, carbon pollutions and emissions in the other part. There will be an ecosystem destructions and depletions of natural resources. All together will happening a global warming and ozone depletions like things. So these are resulting in the imbalance of life of every forms, and there may be a chances of numerous diseases in the future too. So by looking into these aspects, we have to plan new methods that will be essential for keeping the biodiversity in the proper form. So by looking like that, one important factor that highlighted by the WHO, World Health Organizations in the last year is the scenario of air pollution. So air is the one of the essential need for every life forms in the earth. So if you see the human scenario, you can see that there are 7 million deaths is taking place every year around the globe due to air pollution. On that, stroke, heart diseases, and lung diseases are becoming very prevalent in developing countries, especially in the Southeast Asia. Over 2 million people are dying in Southeast Asia every year due to air pollution. And if you look into the air quality index globally, India is standing the 5th place with 152 micro air pollution for solid materials. So this showing that there will be a very necessary and immediate steps are needed for keeping our air into a good form. Otherwise, our breath itself will be in a danger. And another problem what it is creating is the population now is 7.8 billion and in 2030 it will be 8.5 billion. The utilizations of the natural resources will be more. We need more land and other parts for living and other things. So everything will creating a big issues. So conserving the biodiversity and the natural resources are one of the basic need that is essential in nowadays scenario. So the same thing is mentioned in our Ayurveda also. If Vayu is hampered in the external environment, or if it is polluted in external environment, what will be happens? There will be an improper equilibrium of the earth itself will be happening, and there will be a clouding, Srishti Meghana will take place. There will be a raining will be in an improper ways. The initiation of the normal streams will be disrupted, and there may be a seasons also will change. And the proper growth of the plants is maintained by the Vayu Mahabhuta. And Vayu, air, is the most responsible thing for proper growth of the plant and the proper origin of flowers and fruits. If it is not properly originated in the proper time, then that also will result in the decreasing of the chemical constituents or rasapanchakam in that, and that will lead to the various diseases in the human beings and other form. And the strengthening of the seeds, germinations, and its potency also will less, so that the next generation's feasibility to grow into new plants will be reduced. So if a plant is producing 100 seeds, the viability of seeds will be only 10%. Then the plant, of course, will have depletion area. So like that, there will be a very important thing in Vayu is taking place. At the same time, it will lead to various types of diseases and nidana for various diseases like Shirorogam, Shwasam, Kasam, Kustam, Mavarogam, etc. So this is the one of the main factor that nowadays is producing so much of imbalance on the earth and the life forms. Same time, in the water also we have such type of things. And we have the land also, there will be problem. So in such types, we have to look into the models of conservations for the biodiversity. So especially if you look into the heritage of India, we can see that there are plenty of such type of models are framed by our acharyas, and it is mentioned in our books. So this is one of the important plant, a tree which can preserve such type of bioresources or a biodiversity ecosystem in a particular area. So these ficus varieties are the keystone species which can provide an ideal shelter for numerous life forms. So you can see that a big canopy is there on the upper part. Same type, a root system will be there under the ground. These are storing a very good quantity of water on the rainy system, and it will produce a specific type of pH on the soil, and so that the microorganisms, fungus, bacteria that are essential for the life is staying under the tree. And if you see the stems of this plant, also you can see that numerous life forms is there. And it is producing numerous fruits that will be attracted by so much of insects and birds. So this plant can produce a mini ecosystem on that particular areas. That's why our acharyas and in Vriksha Ayurvedas, we have great descriptions about these ficus species, Vada, Dumbara, Shodha like plants for conserving a balance of biophysical things in that. So we have a plenty of physical entities there. It has to be converted into a biological mass, and that can be useful for animal kingdom also. So the mediator between conversion of the physical things to a biological thing is the plant kingdom. And one of the plant tree that is essentially converting all the needs of air, water, and land in a proper form is this ficus species, Ashwatha or Vada like trees. That's why our acharyas are told that Dashakrupa Samavapi, Dashavapi Samavruda, Dashakruta Samoputra, Dashaputra Samodruva. So it is equal to, one tree is equal to 10 suns. So this is the value that gathered by our acharyas. And if you see that our Honorable Supreme Court on 1 month back has produced one committee, and they told that a tree value is 74,500 rupees for 1 year. So that is not that much. But if you look at these types of plants, you can see that they need more value than this. So 1 year a tree, if is sustaining in the environment, at least it can provide 74,500 rupees value to the environment and the life forms. So like that, we have to promote such type of single small ecosystems wherever it is possible to produce a very good biophysical environment for the balancing of air, water, and land. So these types of things, we have plenty of models in our Indian culture. And our acharyas in Vriksha Ayurvedam, Bragat Samhita, like books it is mentioned, is such models for preserving the ecosystems in this. One is Ashuddha Megam, Pichumanda Megam, Negrodha Megam, Dasha Tindranischa, 10 Chinja plant, Kabitta Villum, Amalakam Trayascha, 3 plants of Kabittam, Villum, and Amalakam, Pancha Amra Nali Narakam Mayadi, 5 Amram and 5 Naligaram. If it is planted, then it will provide the good life on this earth. There will be no naraga in this earth. So this shows that there will be a food oriented conservation, there will be a environmental oriented conservations, and a physical oriented conservation is going for this. Like that, we can get plenty of references. Even in Mahabharata, like, or in Ramayana, like books, you can see that Panchavadi, Ashodha Billum, Vadam, Datri, Ashogam, these plants trees has to be planted in these particular areas. So like that, these cultural entities that is existing in India has to be revoked, and it has to be told to the common peoples what is the scientific thing that is behind these types of conservations, and that is these types of conservation is the most essential conservation that is ideal for the topography of India, because it is a country which is having a balancing of heat and cold and having a plenty of rains, and it is surrounded by 3 seas. So these types of conservations are very much essential in nowadays. So we can see some of the models for conservations, propagation, and sustainable utilization. One of the basic thing is the food itself. So in biodiversity conservation, we have to include our natural foods, especially the fruit, tubers, and the leaves. That is essential for our topographic conditions of climate, because our life is formed in the form of a particular area where we are originating. These desha is having a peculiarity in our all type of things, internal ecosystem or external ecosystem or bacteria. So for that balancing of such type of internal ecosystem, we need the natural foods that are originating from the surroundings itself. Why? Because we are also humans, those who are lived thousands of years in this environment. So we need these environmental fruits that is essential for our balancing according to the season, even the mango like fruits and other things. So biodiversity concerns has to be put first in the natural plants sources which is edible in nature. The second thing is the medicines. So if you see that celestras, paniculatus, like Jyotishmati, like things, we have plenty of plants in different parts of India. But how many of plants we are looking and we are watching? And in the proper time, how many seeds we are collecting? So we will losing the 60% of seed falling down, and it will be decay and it will be go off. So if you take a sustainable harvesting of this in the proper time, when it is on the March coming areas times, then it will be completely ripened. And if you collect this in the proper field, then we can utilize in the good form. So like that, a sustainable collection is essential by looking the biodiversity. For that, we need a constant survey and visit to the biodiversities to look after the bioresources that can be collected in the proper time. That is one of the essential thing that is necessary for the plants, medicinal plants on the proper time collection. Second thing is the Sida cordifolia also, one more example. So if we collecting this in the first rainy season, just now we have a rain, because now between the dry summer season, we just before the summer, between summer or there will around that, there will be a rain will be there. On that time, if you pluck it out these bellas, then the bellas will having numerous seeds, and the numerous seeds will fall down. And when we are plucking out, you can get the roots also very well, because the land is little bit wet, and on that time we can pluck it out. So these fallen seeds again which will be grow up on the June, July, right? And that cycle will continue. So through this way, if you are having a correct proper guidance of collection of these bellas, then the scarcity of bella will not occur in our country. There is no need of cultivations. When we are going for a complete cultivation of a particular single species in a particular area, there may be a chances of reducing the Rasapanchakam and its chemical quantities, because it's all depend on certain interactions. If the animal, butterflies, insects, and other things interaction is not there, the proper development of these constituents will not take place. And you can see that Rotula aquatica. The Rotula aquatica is growing in a peculiar biodiversity habitat and ecosystem habitat. So where it needs a flow of water, and between the stones it is growing. So if the flow of water is not there and the current is not there, the plants will not produce that much of constituents that will be necessary for their existence. So if the current is very well, the plant will producing some other strong constituents that can penetrate the rocks and break it. That is the medicine for human beings. So cultivation and conservation is completely dependent on the biodiversity, and according to the biodiversity where the plant is origin, we have to plant the cultivations or propagations or conservations. So if you see the RET plants also, the Jivaga like or Ashtavarga like plants, that has to be conserved in such altitudes where it is growing in its natural habitats. That is one of the necessary thing that is for the enrichment of the proper Rasapanchakas. Like that, we have to screen out some of the mangroves ecosystems, specific ecosystems like mangrove ecosystem, where there will be a balancing of fresh water and salt water is there. So alkalinity and fresh water, there will be a constant changing of the pH will be there. So these types of changing will influence the plants, and there may be a chances of new drug discoveries from these types of habitats. So these are the most vulnerable habitats that can be utilized for development of new drug, or it can be conserved in such form, then it will help the planet to maintain in the proper level. Because these types of habitats are very much necessary for maintaining the balance of fresh water and the salt water on the seas. And another thing is the freshwater, some of the rarest ecosystem, Myrstica swamp ecosystems. These ecosystems are, we can see in the southwestern Ghats areas of Karnataka, Kerala, and Goa even. So in such areas, we have to look into the protections of these biodiversity in its natural way. And at the same time, we have to look into the conservation and propagation of the plants in that area, because these ecosystems are having very potent medications, because these are the water logging areas. So when a plant has to sustain in such an area, it has to produce so many biochemical compounds that will be necessary as an antibacterial or antifungal like this. So surely we can find out new drug source from these biodiversity area. And moreover, these types of ecosystems will help to maintain an ideal water balance. An ideal water means an ideal water that is good for human beings and other life forms. And another thing is it will nourishes the environment of that particular area in the form of land and air. So a particular type of warming also can be prevented by these types of preserving of ecosystems. So that's why there will be an external and an internal environment. Both these environments are very much necessary. External biodiversity and at the same time internal biodiversity of every life forms is necessary. So we have to stick on the proper maintenance of air, water, land balancing. If we miss that balance, it may lead to various types of health hazards in the various life forms and the same time in the environment also. Ayurveda is a science which is discussing about these balances, the balances of matter, properties, and action with life and non-life forms. So we have to look into these minute aspects of social, biological preservations of environment, and the same time the medicines also, in other words, because the environmental preservation is the most important thing. If the environment is lost, the biodiversity conservation is lost, and we lost so many things that is beneficial for the life. That's why if you look into the Vedas, we can see that the air, water, land, all are considered to be the divine as mother, father, and other things, and they are giving the prayer to that. So that is the natural power of energy. The natural power of energy is existing in these biodiversities, and we have to protect it. And for that, we have to prepare the various forms that is ideal in the tropical countries, especially in India, like Asian countries, is the Upavana, small gardens that is mentioned in the Vriksha Ayurveda, Krida Parvadams, the hiking places of the small hills areas, how it has to be planted and with numerous trees and other trees, or modern private forest farms, botanical gardens, silk banks, or home gardens like Ladagraham, Sarovara, like things that is mentioned in the Vriksha Ayurveda. And moreover, the water is the most important thing that is coming for every life. And we have to preserve the biodiversity of the water conservations in each and every area. For that, we have to build new tadagams, pushkarani, dirghiga, like water bodies, and it has to be revitalized, and we have to produce new water bodies in the particular areas for maintaining the proper ecosystems or heat balance of that particular area. And we can also look into the Rashivanam, Nashatravanam, Grahavanam, Nagavanam like concepts also. So by like, we can incorporate so many new things that can be told by the new scientists, and the old things, what the ancestors are find out by searching the nature and maintaining the nature. In that way, we can balance these things in this ecosystem, and that will be a very good for the future generations to come. So this is told by our Mahatma Gandhi that everybody has things in the nature. Whatever the things that is provided in the nature, you can use it in the sustainable manner, then that is the good. That is told by in the Ishavasya Sarvam Yatkindi Jagatyam Jagatyena Tektena Vinjitagama Kasid. So once who have respecting the nature and all the life forms and take away what the essential thing that is necessary for that, then that will be the ideal biodiversity conservations that will be provided by everyone. So thanking all of you. So it's a very great opportunity by the CISA and the Global Ayurvedic Foundation for giving an time to share some of the information regarding the biodiversity and its conservations. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay, for a valuable presentation. I would like to address Dr. Ajay as Ayurvedic Wikipedia for biodiversity. The future perspectives linked with Ayurvedic pattern for the biodiversity question is very informative. I think GF will take care of the suggestions and opinions provided by our respected speakers in this session. Once again, I congratulate all the speakers. Thank you. Edmund, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, thank you to all the speakers as well as the viewers. So by this, we are about to conclude our session. So shall we conclude it, ma'am?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please share our opinions and suggestions to GF to implement it soon.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Because our crew has done a very good job for this session.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you once again for giving us a chance to attend in GAF. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, sir.
Ayurvedic Wikipedia for biodiversity. Unable to connect to projector.